Police just came. Should've got the guns. Guns. Oh shit, the police came out, they started firing shots. Hey, that's all you had to say.
Almost a year ago, David McAtee was killed when Louisville police and National Guard came to clear the parking lot of a corner store across the street from his restaurant.
He's not laying on the ground.
He's dying. He's dying.
Put your hands down.
Who's dying?
Put your hands down and just wait.
All we out. All right, I got one suspect prone on the floor. To your left, to my left, is going to be the casualty.
The Louisville Metro Police Department said no body cameras captured the incident. But this previously unreleased body cam footage obtained by Vice News shows the moments immediately after McAtee was killed.
And that's my
right now until we're trying to figure out what's going on.
My officer still going around. My officer dead. My officer dead.
Hey, sorry.
And I didn't do it.
Has anyone ever given you an explanation for what happened?
No. Nope. That night was the most horrible. It's horrible. Like, it was awful. And to be completely glanced at it, the crazy thing about it is when me and my son was watching the protest and it was going on downtown or whatever, and I had told my son, he wanted to go down there. I said, I'm not going down there so I can get hit by a rubber bullet or whatever. I'm not going down there. And then it turned out to happen at a place where I thought I was safe at my uncle's restaurant. It's crazy.
McAtee, who many people knew as Yaya, owned a popular barbecue joint in West Louisville. It was the sort of place where everyone was welcome.
He was good with the community, fed everybody. He fed the police officers or whatever. I don't have a vindictive against the police officers, but whenever they would come over, I'd be like, oh my goodness. He'd be like, make sure they are cool, just be quiet, I feed them, they all right, they look out, they all right. He's gonna be missed though.
I have already
All they want is a reason. Don't give them one. They'll find any excuse to come over here. They didn't even have to be down here. They didn't have to be down here last night.
At a briefing the day McAtee was killed, the city released security camera footage.
We will now play video and audio that we have available.
LMPD's official narrative, which it's maintained to this day, is that police went there to disperse the last large crowd of protests over Breonna Taylor's death, and that officers returned fire after McAtee fired first. But previously unreleased portions of LMPD's internal investigation obtained by Vice News, along with accounts from multiple inside sources with direct knowledge, tell a much more complicated story, not only about what happened on scene, but also why law enforcement was sent there in the first place. The police department was struggling to contain the fourth straight day of large-scale protests. The city had just called in the National Guard. LMPD was coordinating its response from the city's Emergency Operations Center, a central command post where leadership from LMPD and the mayor's office followed activity through the city's network of surveillance cameras. It was almost midnight, and protests had mostly died down when officers were told to head to 26th and Broadway to clear the lot at Dino's corner store.
We were told we were going to go down and assist with the protests and the large crowds.
We waited at 7th Ormsby for an unknown amount of time, and then we got dispatched out to 26th and Broadway to disperse the crowd at Dino's.
The decision to deploy to Dino's has never made much sense to the public, but the way it looked that night was how it usually looked on weekends. And it was almost 3 miles from the heart of the demonstrations downtown.
Part of the official explanation that they've given is that police went there because they were worried about a crowd forming, that they had intelligence that protesters might be heading over there.
That's not true. I don't even understand why they would assume something like that when that's how it is all the time. On certain days, it is always like that. It's nothing new.
As officers went over, Lieutenant Colonel Josh Judah, who was in charge of operations on the ground, called into the command center, according to multiple people in the room. They say he wanted to make sure everyone was watching, and that the message was clear. Check out what we're about to do. Everyone, they said, then turned to the surveillance screens and watched as law enforcement arrived at 26th and Broadway. When officers arrived on scene, people in the lot began to disperse. One officer, Katie Cruz, crossed the street and started firing pepper balls at people gathered at McAtee's restaurant, including several directly at McAtee's niece.
I was still giving verbal commands for her to go inside. She still refused, so I did shoot off more non-lethal pepper balls at her.
But verbal commands to do what? Go in, what? I'm fine. We're not on the side. We're not in the street. We're not bothering you. We're right here.
The city had just implemented a curfew, but Michelle and her family were on private property. Cruz kept firing pepper balls even as Michelle ran inside.
It happened all so quickly with the female being pulled inside.
My uncle was like, well, Michelle, such, and I'm like, they are fucking shooting at us. Whoever it is, they are shooting at us. And from there, everything just went fast.
McAtee reached out and fired a shot. Surveillance footage appears to show him let off a second one as he was hit in the chest.
I don't think I honestly realized it was the fucking police until after when my uncle came in, because I was blindsided. My eyes was burning. When he came in, I didn't even know he got hit. He just immediately collapsed.
In a matter of seconds, Cruz, Officer Austin Allen, and 2 National Guard members fired about 18 bullets, according to state officials. LMPD has said there's no body cam footage of the incident because the 2 officers who fired their weapons didn't turn their body cameras on. But they haven't said anything about other officers. We know at least one body camera nearby did start recording before shots were fired. And photos taken later that morning by LMPD's Internal Investigations Division identify at least 7 other officers present at the time of the shooting. 3 of them were wearing body cameras, but only recorded footage after the shooting.
That was fucking wild.
We went from clearing a lot to freaking...
While SWAT cleared the restaurant, police detained people who were inside, including Michelle.
Oh yeah!
They came in there and the guns is drawn out and they zipping us, pushing us out and shit. And I'm like, what the f? I know my uncle's in the building. So I literally got out the zip tie thing and tried to run to the building to get back to my uncle. And from there, they just snatched me up, threw me in the back of the car, police car, and I'm sitting there literally crying. I couldn't believe it.
Little by little, word began to spread about who was dead inside.
Yaya's dead, man.
Who?
Yaya's dead,
No,
man.
he's not. Not Yaya,
My
man.
shirt.
No, nothing happened to Yaya.
Dog. Niggas came out there shooting at us.
I can't believe they did that.
No way in hell this is right. I don't care what story they give you, G. None of that. This shit wasn't right. There's no way in hell y'all should have let this happen.
Back in the command center, some of LMPD's highest-ranking officers couldn't believe what they had just watched, or why anyone had been sent there at all. One source inside the room told us they were sitting there shaking their head like, what was to be gained by this? Another felt sure it was a power play. At one point they said, even then Chief Steve Conrad, who was in the room, expressed confusion about why anyone had been sent there, saying it looked no different than any other weekend night.
What was the call? What had happened?
I'm not sure, sir. I just showed up here.
What was the call?
That sentiment appears to have been shared by people on scene.
y'all real on ass? Why don't y'all chill out? How we fucking with y'all? Look, listen to me. No, listen to me.
Apparently somebody was shooting up here. A shooter was in there.
The Yayas?
Yeah.
Yeah, we don't never got no shit going on over there.
Including Major Paul Humphrey, one of the highest ranking officers to respond to the shooting.
Hey fellas, how y'all doing tonight?
What's up?
So how y'all doing tonight?
Doing well.
Not too bad. I'm glad we can get you on a little something.
Man, we just rolled down here too, so.
This ain't nothing but a weekend night at Dino's. We're good.
Oh, I know, right? You good?
Yeah, we're good.
The next day, Humphrey participated in a press conference where he pushed the official explanation.
We had dealt with large unruly crowds for several hours throughout the night prior to this incident. And in the downtown central area, we had pretty much had that under control. And the information that we had was this was the last large crowd that we had that was gathering.
LMPD didn't respond to requests for comment. But in March, Metro Council President David James asked again about the decision to deploy officers to Dino's.
At some point in time, a decision was made to go to 26th and Broadway. Could you tell me how that decision was made to go there?
We were made aware through our cameras and through intelligence that there was a sizable number of people at 26th and Broadway. Our intelligence gave us reason to believe that that may be a possible area where the activity we had just gotten out of the downtown area may be regrouping to.
Multiple police sources, including people inside the command center that night, dispute Judah's explanation. They told us the surveillance team hadn't flagged any activity in the area because they also didn't see anything out of the ordinary, and that there was no intelligence about protests moving to that intersection. One source suggested Judah likely used that word because it sounded official enough that the public wouldn't question it. When James asked Judah if he remembered calling into the command center, Judah deflected.
Colonel Judah, do you recall making a phone call to the command post at that time?
I don't recall. I am sure that phone calls were, I made phone calls constantly throughout the whole weekend. And if we're talking about anything specific to an investigation, I'm not going to go into any of that. Suffice to say that there were many phone calls made over the course of the weekend.
Instead of answering, he cited the ongoing investigations, which the police department has repeatedly used to withhold information. LMPD's investigation, which was conducted with the Kentucky State Police, was completed back in August, but it's been kept from the public for the past 9 months because the federal investigation is still ongoing. Michelle says she hasn't been given any updates. Her lawyer says she wasn't even interviewed by KSP investigators until after officials said the investigation was closed.
What has the past year been like?
Hard. And when I go out there, I literally break down. And like I said, me even riding past that brings back flashbacks. I try to block it out. I really do. I just hope that they don't sweep it under the rug and, accept what they did